5 Live Formula One.
Hello and welcome to the F1 paddock here at Silverstone, a pretty busy F1 paddock, and we wanted to start the pod with a backing track from Damien Lewis. Of course, of Billions fame, of Homeland fame, but he's just stopped playing. Guys, outrageous. I thought we were going to have some serious sort of beats going on in the background. Obviously, we'll get into qualifying shortly, but it's nice to see. We've got Hollywood in the pit lane, we've got Damien Lewis in the paddock as well.
I know, it's amazing. The paddock is a really nice vibe right now. It's such a shame. I thought we could chant one more song and we might get another one. But he is going to be doing the national anthem ahead of the race as well. So we'll get another dose of Damien Lewis before lights out on Sunday.
I dare you to say one more song on the grid tomorrow afternoon, Harry Benjamin. Lead commentator Harry Benjamin joining me in the paddock alongside former reserve driver for Mercedes F1 and current Jaguar Formula E driver Sam Bird. Guys, qualifying, it was a challenge out there, wasn't it? We had Max Verstappen qualifying on pole position. And do you know what? More delaying tactics from me. I think we'll get on to the Max Verstappen Red Bull story in a bit. But a huge word for McLaren. Sam, they've upgraded the car, landed with a few extra bits and pieces on his car this weekend, which seemed to have made all the difference. P2 and P3 for Lando and Oscar, respectively.
Those upgrades on the McLaren have made a huge difference. Just look where they were at the beginning of the year. They were nowhere. I mean, they were right at the back. To be honest, they were one of the back markers. Now they've got a car on the front row of the British Grand Prix tomorrow. Unbelievable work from the whole team. Great driving from Oscar and Lando, second and third. It could have been better, obviously, but I think they'd absolutely take that. Max Verstappen doing what Max Verstappen does. It is what it is. But yeah, Lando on the front row, amazing.
Obviously, Lando saying afterwards, I loved it. You know, basically, it could have gone better if Max Verstappen wasn't on the F1 grid. But I loved the cheer that went up when he was on provisional pole. This place, Silverstone, erupted. Your view from the commentary box must have been amazing because you've been commenting, Harry, on the luminous, highlighter-coloured bucket hats that Lando's been kind of selling, trying to flog this weekend. So many of them on that start-finish straight. What was it like when he got that provisional pole?
Well, we could see the lap coming, and then to go P1, we're kind of drilled into us this year that it's always going to be Verstappen, so we're not even looking. And then it all happened so quickly. We've seen the track has been speeding up corner after corner, lap after lap, because we had mixed conditions to start off with. So cars can very quickly find a lot of pace, but as the checkered flag came down, Norris has slotted up into first, and Piastri was in third as well in the other McLaren. Verstappen was on a lap, but we were following his final sector time, and his middle sector, he actually hadn't improved that much, and we weren't seeing any personal bests. So suddenly, I'm thinking, we've got a pole position from Lando Norris. And then, of course, right at the dying stage of Verstappen, puts that Red Bull probably where it belongs, on pole.
You remembered it was 2023 and you're like, oh yeah, sorry. So normal service resumed. But what a moment for McLaren. I saw Zach Brown while I was doing the pen interviews coming in to congratulate the drivers. Lando's been so realistic throughout the season, hasn't he, guys, about where the car's at, how he's trying to stay motivated. Do you think he thought this kind of performance was on the cards then?
Absolutely not. I don't think that anybody at McLaren expected or thought that they would be on the front row of the grid. I think they hoped for maybe top 5, but not front row. That's a remarkable change in form, in fortune. They had a 4th last time out in Austria, but that was due to a penalty to Carlos Sainz. So they were really 5th. But here, they were there on pace because Lando, let's not forget, he topped Q1, he topped Q2, and he nearly topped Q3. He was right there on pace all afternoon.
Well, let's hear how Lando is feeling, because it must be an incredible moment in front of the British crowd to get that kind of reception. I put a few questions to him in the media pen a little earlier on.
Yeah, it was very special. I mean, to do it here, especially for us as a team, I guess not just being selfish and saying me, but for us, for Oscar to be P3 as well, for us as a team, it's pretty amazing. So, very happy. I don't think it could have been a lot better unless Max wasn't here. But he is, so yeah, pretty special day.
I think the fans around the track will put your performance down today to the Lando factor, but can you can you pinpoint where it's sort of come together this weekend for you?
Just now in qualifying, really. Like I said, I wasn't too happy with how we were doing yesterday. With my confidence is pretty low. High-speed performance was pretty bad. So I lacked quite a bit of confidence on just going out and nailing qualifying, but that's exactly what we did today. So I'm very happy because we made some big changes with the car. We went away from where we normally are in a way, but it's paid off. So I'm very happy about that. We made good steps forward. And I did a good lap. Maybe the last few weekends I've not done the best Q3 lap. Austria I would say I did, but previously not so much. On today,
Lewis giving him a little neck rub.
Oh, excuse me. Yes. Today, I managed to put a really good lap in Q3. Kind of, close to nailing everything in a way. So very happy with that.
You said your confidence levels wavered a little bit over the course of this weekend.
Yeah.
I remember talking to you early on in the season when you were talking about the car not being there for you and that you were going to work on your driving and being the best you could be. Has your confidence wavered in the lead up to this? And what can we expect from you from tomorrow and onwards?
Yeah, I think we've improved the car, we've made it quicker. I wouldn't say we've made it that much easier to drive. And I feel like Oscar will probably say the same thing. So this is Oscar's first weekend with the upgrade, and I think at the same time his comments have been completely aligned with what I said last weekend and what we're saying this weekend. So I think it's, like I said, it's clear what we know we're doing better on and where we've improved, and we know where we're still struggling. And normally the high speed is one of my best parts, it's one of my strengths. For some reason this weekend, it just, I don't know, we've had some bouncing and various little issues which have just hit my confidence, but my confidence hasn't been down through the season. It's just we've not had the pace and it's a very difficult car to drive. So there's two different things, but today it all came together and I'm just happy with that.
And tomorrow, enjoy the fans. They're going to be cheering you on.
I will. I enjoyed the whole in-lap, seeing them all cheering and celebrating, so I'm happy.
So Lando Norris in the McLaren, thrilled with that performance. I think he's targeting to be in the top 5 come the checkered flag, but a little bit of silverware would be nice, wouldn't it? Just to buoy them up at Woking.
Absolutely. I think the grandstands would absolutely erupt as well, especially opposite our commentary boxes. We overlook the main straight and you can see all the fluorescent bucket hats, as you mentioned, Rosanna. It's interesting because McLaren and Norris particularly were nowhere in practice, really. Piastri was the better of the McLarens, and this is the first time he's got the big upgrade that Norris got last time around in Austria. Norris getting a little sweetener on top of that this weekend. Pulled out of the bag in qualifying. But I'm so impressed by Piastri because he's with Norris. He's not far away. And it's the first time, this is the stat, it's the first time two McLarens have started in the top 3 since 2021 Italian Grand Prix. And what happened then?
Da, 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 da.
It was a 1-2. Probably not going to happen again, but, this is the first time we've seen Verstappen make a mistake so far this year, clattering the wall in the pit lane,
Yeah,
getting
it might
a bit
have
tight.
been in the pit lane, but,
so
whatever.
there could well be something that goes wrong for him in the race, reliability-wise, who knows? And the McLarens are going to be the first ones, hopefully, to pounce.
Do you know what, though? Last weekend in Austria, Sam, people were saying, is it the Lando factor? Is it the upgrades? Was it the circuit? And then you get Oscar performing as well. This guy's good, isn't he? I mean, fastest, winner of F3, winner of F2, had a year off, coming into F2, and it's been tricky for him to get up to speed because the car's not been there, but he's suddenly showing why he's meant to be here.
He's a very, very talented young driver who fully deserves his shot at McLaren and is slowly learning all the time. Let's remember, Lando buried Daniel Ricciardo last year, buried him.
Not literally.
No, but you get what I mean. He did dismantle him in terms of lap time, and it's
not literally.
Buried, dismantled. Any more adjectives up these sleeves?
No, but I think they're two really good ones. I love Daniel. Daniel is a great driver and has been for many years, but Lando really did show his class last year. And Oscar's come in, and okay, Lando's in front right now, but he's not far away. He's chipping away at that deficit, is Oscar Piastri, and I've been very impressed with him recently. And he's been knuckling down, and he hasn't had the upgrade. He didn't throw his toys out the pram, and when he's got his opportunity, he's delivered.
Yeah, as a young driver coming into this sport, which as we know is a circus of sorts, both on and off track, he has, as you say, Sam, kept his head down, really mature, and today it's come good for him. P3 in qualifying. Let's hear from Oscar.
Yeah, very, very, very happy. I think we were optimistic we could be more towards the front from yesterday. It was a bit of a messy day, but the overall pace seemed to be solid. I think going into today with the conditions we had before qualifying, generally our car's done quite well when it's like that. Barcelona, we saw a similar thing. So I think there's an element of that, but having the upgrades on both cars this week for the most part has definitely been a help. And I think we both put in solid laps too. So I'm very, very happy for myself to be back in the top 3. but it's a great day for the team as well.
When you found out you were getting the upgrades this weekend, what else did they tell you? Was there ever a chance of a top 3 finish in qualifying? Did they mention that?
No, they didn't. I think it's exceeded everyone's expectations. We were hopeful we could be, well into Q3, but not second and third. Of course, conditions like that are always tricky for everybody. A couple of cars out of position, but I feel like we always do a good job of maximising the strategy in those conditions. The car works very well. I feel like Lando and I do a good job in those conditions too. So very, very happy with what we've done at the moment. Just looking forward to it tomorrow.
And if you get that front wing as well, you'll be right at the top, no? Surely.
Hopefully. There's not as much time in the front wing as there was in the floor and the side pods, which is what I've got this weekend. So, I've got the bulk of it, let's say. But it's always exciting to know that there's little bits more coming as well. So, to have this kind of result, I think it's a credit to how the team's been operating, even when we've struggled. I think we've always operated very well. So, I think we've shown today that when we're fighting for positions that really matter in the top 3, we can pull it off.
And can you hang on to those positions tomorrow? It was a little bit cooler today, may get a bit hotter tomorrow. We don't really know. It's Britain. Welcome. Are you going to be able to hold it up there?
We'll see. Hopefully. If we're being optimistic, I think we can certainly try. I think it'll be tricky. The Mercedes looked very quick yesterday. We've got the Ferraris behind us that have generally been quick as well, so we'll see. But Lando's upgrades, what I have this weekend, seem to be a lot better on Sunday in Austria as well, which is where we've been weak before then. So hopefully we can fight a bit better with these cars and dare to dream of a couple of trophies.
Oh, lovely. Thank you very much. Good luck. So 2 McLarens in the top 3, Lando Norris starting alongside Max Verstappen on the front row. But when it comes to race pace, it's been a difficult weekend to read in terms of race pace. We've had mixed conditions. Are they going to be able to keep their sort of elbows out and make the cars as wide as possible and defend, or are they going to slip down the order, do you think?
I hope they are going to be able to get their elbows out and defend. I think the promising sign is that actually Fernando Alonso and the Mercedes drivers haven't looked quite on par, but the man, of course, who's really crunches the numbers is Andrew Benson. He'll
and
know
he's
more.
right here in the F1 paddock. Andrew, we're just talking about McLaren and whether they can hold on to P2 and 3. Lando's been so sort of almost pessimistic, realistic about their expectation come race day in recent races. What have you found? Is there any long-run data? What can you tell us?
Well, Rosanna, you've caught me about 10 minutes too early because I was just about to go to McLaren to talk to Andrea Stella, the team principal, about exactly this topic. Lewis Hamilton's really quite down today. He's saying that McLaren's pace is a wake-up call for Mercedes, and he points out that Norris was quicker than him in the race in Austria a week ago, so he expects them to be quicker than him tomorrow. But Hamilton was in one of his, you'll know all about them, Rosanna, those sort of situations where he's quite grumpy.
I got quite a lot of chat out of him,
monosyllabic. We've all been there, and he's having them increasingly at the moment. Look, big picture-wise, I think the McLaren pace is obviously real, and the signs are they're going to be pretty competitive tomorrow as well. The bigger question is longer term. Norris was saying it's all about circuit characteristics. The McLaren's got some inherent strengths and it's got some inherent weaknesses. It still has the same inherent strengths and weaknesses. It's just that it's got quite a lot more downforce now. So that's making it go faster while having the same strengths and weaknesses. This is not a track that exacerbates the weaknesses. It is a track that encapsulates the strengths. So I expect them to have a good race tomorrow, and why not one of them at least on the podium?
Absolutely, but what you're sort of saying is further down the season there will be peaks and troughs and highs and lows where they maybe ebb and flow a little.
Yeah, so they're good in high-speed corners, and they're good in corners that where you don't spend a lot of time off throttle. So we were saying in the commentary today, a lot of the corners that look like corners here aren't really corners at all. Like Copse is a straight, effectively. The first bit of Beckett's is a straight. So there's an awful lot of full throttle here. And a lot of the other corners are quick. There's not that many slow corners. And the sort of corners where they struggle are those sort of stop-start, short-duration corners. on street circuits, slower circuits. So somewhere like Singapore, for example, they'll struggle more. Monza maybe not so bad, but so it'll ebb and flow. But there's no question they made a significant step forward in overall performance. So it'll ebb and flow at a higher level than before.
I don't want to delay you from getting to Andrea Stella, but we'll just have a quick chat about Max Verstappen. Obviously, the downforce on that car is incredible, the Red Bull. So tomorrow, is it nailed on?
Well, unless he makes a mistake, like drives into the pit wall, for example.
Off the start. That would be great, yeah.
Somewhere, it's quite funny, someone asked me in the press conference, did that knock your confidence? He goes, yeah, I've lost all my confidence driving out of the pits.
Well, there we go. I mean, nothing stops that man. And in the same way, nothing stops this man. Andrew Benson, we're going to let you go. Can't wait to hear all about the McLaren's gossip from you later on, no doubt. So let's hear from Max Verstappen then. Pole sitter today, his 5th consecutive pole this season, and seemingly unstoppable at the moment. Max, I think you broke a few British hearts out there when you pipped Lando to the post. It looked pretty comfortable where we were watching from. Did it feel comfortable in the cockpit this afternoon?
I think overall the car has been working very well. I think in Q3 the lap wasn't too bad, but it's never going to be perfect in conditions like this. So it was good enough. Yeah, I mean, I know of course Lando was P2. Probably all the British fans, they would have liked to see him on pole, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'm also just trying to do the best I can, right? And I think for McLaren as well to be P2 and P3 today, they did an amazing job.
Do you feel they will be the ones trying to chase you down tomorrow? You're expecting others to come into it, and where do you imagine Checo may end up, and could he help you?
They're all difficult things to answer, to be honest, because I don't really know who is going to be the fastest behind us tomorrow. I guess we just have to wait and see, because every race so far, it has been a little bit different.
Good luck tomorrow. That was Max Verstappen, who'll start on pole position for the British Grand Prix. We'll talk about his performance in qualifying and what he can do tomorrow next. So Max, I mean, another sensational performance, breaking hearts left, right and centre here at Silverstone. The crowd obviously gunning for the home heroes, but credit where credit's due, hey Harry?
What do you add, to somebody? We talked about this in commentary, actually. We've had dominance before in Formula One. And I asked Sam and Angie this, why is this dominance different to Lewis Hamilton in a Mercedes, to Sebastian Vettel in a Red Bull? And it is different because he doesn't have any competition, not even his teammate, Sergio Perez, who continues really to have a bit of a rough patch of form, down in 16th in qualifying, once again not getting into Q3, whereas Hamilton did have a bit of competition from likes of Rosberg, even Bottas, and Red Bull, it was Vettel and Webber, and you had Alonso in there as well. So it's a completely different dominance. So we have to appreciate what he's doing, really, not putting a toe out of line bar the pit lane incident in qualifying. And we have to respect that. And I don't feel like I could add much more because he's just on another level.
Well, I've just decided I'm never letting Max Verstappen park my car. If he can't get a Formula One car out of the garage, into the pit lane, frankly, I just don't want that kind of level of driver in my car.
But he can drive a Formula One car very, very well on the race circuit. His level of dominance, for me, it is more dominant than the Lewis era at Mercedes when they were dominating. Just as you said, it's there feels like there's no real constant competition. It's not like he has to fight Sergio Perez every weekend or a different manufacturer. He's just kind of racing himself. And most of the time, he does end up half a second down the road from everybody. I mean, it's total dominance.
We've always had, almost like the B team championship, but that has usually been for, 6th place down, best to the rest. Now, that marker is moved because it's Max Verstappen and then it's best to the rest because the fight
I'd love to be a back
behind.
marker in second place in what I'm racing. I'd love to be a back marker in second.
But that just outlines again, he's on another planet, Max Verstappen.
So we're going to wander a little bit further down the paddock. It's still busy, isn't it? I mean, it's quite a while after qualifying and people are still here. The weather has turned it up a little. I think if it was pouring with rain like it was earlier, no one would be out here, but we're all enjoying this British summer, aren't we, Harry?
It is lovely. I'm consciously thinking about what the traffic situation is going to be to get out of the circuit.
Hey, don't get distracted. We're having a great time reviewing the qualifying session.
No, it is lovely.
Do not worry.
And we came out, and you're right, the start of qualifying was so miserable and drab and grey, but it's really turned out lovely. And I think we've seen the last of the rain as well so far this weekend. Famous last words, of course. Bold prediction. But it did its job. It spiced up qualifying nicely for us, and now we can come outside and have a nice sort of warm chat.
Yeah, and actually we're wandering up past the Ferrari hospitality, and that was a little bit spicy, wasn't it? We saw the cars switching position in the pit lane before they headed out, and Carlos Sainz on the radio saying, guys, I really didn't like that. I don't like what you're doing there. And actually he was at a disadvantage at that point in qualifying, so they really should have prioritised Carlos, don't you think, Sam?
It's a really tough one. They are close in the championship, but you just sense in the Ferrari camp that their chosen child is Charles Leclerc. But at the moment, Carlos Sainz is outscoring him. You know, I'm not saying that they're, you know, that Charles is quicker or Carlos is quicker, but I think that Carlos is a little bit upset at the feeling that Charles Leclerc gets preferential treatment in terms of team orders.
Yeah, 10 points separating the two Ferrari drivers at the moment, as we see Fred Vasseur actually coming out of the Mercedes hospitality. Interesting. Ooh. He's a cheeky fellow, isn't he, Fred Vasseur?
I think he just gave you a wink, Rosanna.
Well, maybe he'd like me to drive for them. We're just watching George Russell as well, leaving the Mercedes hospitality, heading out of the paddock, no doubt to a media duty of some kind or a fan appearance. It's a busy weekend for the drivers, especially the British ones. So Ferrari, there we go. We kind of saw a little bit of angst maybe on the team radio. Surely there'll be more tomorrow. We love a bit of open communication from the Ferrari pit wall and the drivers. Guys, a little bit of quickfire for you then. Behind Ferrari, Mercedes, Andrew sort of touched on it. Not great for the two of them in front of the home crowd. What do we expect tomorrow?
I don't think it's going to be a particularly rosy outlook. Hamilton's actually had the better of Russell so far up until qualifying. Russell pulling it out of the bag in the closing stages. They show glimmers of pace, but the overall, the chat coming out has been quite negative, as Andrew alluded to earlier. We've been watching them as well, and the rear of that car looks so unstable. It's snapping on them, particularly through the right-handers of Stowe, which a lot of drivers have actually struggled with, especially in these mixed conditions, but it's not feeling like a very nice car to drive at the moment. So these big upgrades that came in Barcelona that we thought, and Mercedes thought, maybe this is the switch that is going to turn up our season, it doesn't look like it's quite paying dividends anymore.
It's okay, I said quickfire, but you gave me a lovely long
answer.
answer.
Was it quickfire?
Do you know what?
Sorry.
I actually love that. I love that. More detail, more meat on the bone. Sam, Albon, Williams, go. I mean, I was expecting a bit more.
Albon, Williams, go. Indeed, that's what they've done. They've been going. They've been a bit of a revelation recently, which is great to see. I think the introduction of James Vowles as their team principal, I think, has been a great addition to their team. Alex Albon has upped his game and has become a true team leader and is maturing really nicely as a Formula One racing driver. Their upgrades seem to be working slowly but surely. They do have a very quick car in a straight line, and it's a car that can score points. Is it where they want to be? For now, yes. In the future, no. It is a team with ambition, and it wants to get back to the success days of the early 90s. Can it get there? Will it make the right decisions going forwards? Only time will tell.
And about Aston Martin, slightly falling away, weren't they? I mean, Fernando Alonso finishing P9 and Lance Stroll out of the top 10 in P12. Is it just a circuit doesn't suit them? Are they running out of steam?
I think Stroll was a bit of a victim of the track really ramping up in evolution right towards the end of Q2, because Alonso and Stroll were always the first to set their fast lap times, which meant that when everyone else came through, they shuffled down to the back. So I have a suspicion that was more of a timing error. But you're right, Alonso only down in 9th. Again, another one who showed glimmers of pace, but even over the last couple of races, similar to Mercedes, Aston Martin, obviously a huge jump at the start of the year, seem to have plateaued a bit. And if anybody can get the most out of a car, it's Fernando Alonso. And if the most is P9, then they've got a problem.
I think they're going to do a little bit of work, aren't they?
Sorry, I disagree. I think that Fernando made an error on his final lap, and apart from that, he would have been much higher up. I think he would have been about 5th. He would have been in front of the Mercedes. He's definitely shown more pace than the Mercs. I don't think he should be down in P9, and expect him to have a feisty race tomorrow to get up into the top 5.
Oh, it's such a nice mix-up grid. And actually, just a word on Nico Hülkenberg. I'm actually taking comfort for Haas from the fact that they qualified outside Q3. Maybe they're going to have found some race pace, so they're sort of going middle of the road so that tomorrow could come good, because they've been so strong on a Saturday, especially Nico. Maybe They've changed it up. I don't know how you change. This is this sort of interesting question we always say. You know, your pace on a Saturday and your pace on a Sunday. How do you switch it? I wouldn't know where to begin, but maybe Haas have found something.
You want it the other way around, don't you, really? If you're going to have it anyway, you want the Sunday race pace over the qualifying, perhaps. But I spoke to Nico earlier this weekend, and they ran a sensor in practice in Austria last time around, and they to figure out this exact problem, but they failed to do so. Well, they didn't quite. They got data, but they haven't quite understood what it means yet. So they're still figuring that out in terms of what it means for their race pace. But Hülkenberg's shown pretty fast speed no matter where that Haas is. I hope he doesn't drop like a stone tomorrow. Magnussen had his car shut off in qualifying, so he was confined to the back anyway. So one hand tied behind their back slightly for Haas, but I think their driver lineup's really good. And I think if anybody can muster and fight their way through, it's the Haas guys.
Well, I think we've kind of covered the grid more or less with some of the battles to watch out for tomorrow afternoon. Come the British Grand Prix start, I think there are going to be some disappointed British fans. But hey, if you're a Formula One fan and you appreciate excellence, I'm going to say there's still a lot to enjoy with Max Verstappen out front. With a charging Checo Perez, Red Bull will hope through the pack trying to get a podium for them and to try and keep that championship battle alive. Oh.
I think we're looking at more of the, well, I was going to say the Constructors' Championship battle, but that's done and dusted.
Max has won it.
That's the thing. He can win it. If you took his points out of Red Bull, he'd still be leading the Constructors' Championship as Team Max Verstappen. That's how dominant he's been. But that fight for second, especially with Mercedes and Aston Martin plateauing slightly, allowing Ferrari to come up into the fray, McLaren, perhaps this is now the start of something special for the rest of the year. The battle for second in the Constructors and the last couple of podium places is going to be one to tune in for.
Yeah, and that's big money on offer. I'm not going to ask you who you think is going to win the race. I'm just going to ask you for a rogue podium contender tomorrow.
Well, is it rogue to say Piastri and Norris? Is that rogue?
No.
Good point. I think Norris to get a podium. I think Leclerc to come second.
Okay.
That's so Verstappen, Leclerc, Norris for me.
Okay, nice. That means they're going to have a tasty little battle, maybe off the start. Maybe.
What about you?
I'm going to say, I'm just going to say Hamilton, and that's not for any bias for anyone gets all
Hamilton
up in my
to do
grill.
what, sorry?
To be on the podium.
Oh, okay.
I said a surprise podium
sorry,
contender.
I thought you meant to win.
No.
Like, hang on a
surprise podium
second.
contender, just because this place goes off. And if Lando's on there too, P2, and Lewis gets on there, can you just imagine this place? I mean, just the fans rewarded for their commitment, sitting through the pouring rain and having a wonderful time. I'm sure it's Silverstone, but, you know, I like to see the crowd on their feet on a Sunday afternoon.
The place would erupt.
It gives me tingles, I have to say. Wouldn't it be nice if Sunday afternoon could be the way we feel all week long? So that's all from the paddock here at Silverstone. We're getting excited for race day. Max Verstappen on pole position. Will he be on the top step of the podium come tomorrow afternoon? Tune in and listen to us from 2:30 tomorrow.